We have, I think, the wrong theory of the presidency, still on the left, even 2.5 years in, 3 years in. We still think that the presidency is the site of all the power that we need. And so we have to either cheerlead for the president or criticize the president or be mad at the president or defend the president. LBJ did not lead the civil rights movement. Dr. King, Ella Baker, Fannie Lou Hamer, Bayard Rustin, they and others led the civil rights movement. You have to have two sources of power, not just one. That's the big lesson from this past 3 years. Those of us who are kind of post-hope progressives, post-hope Democrats and independents, the big lesson takes two sources of power. You have to have a head of state that is willing to be moved, but you have to have a grassroots movement to do the moving. You know, the president is really, most of the time, just a guy on a tightrope, or hopefully someday a woman on a tightrope. Just, you know, they can only lean so far to the left or the right before the laws of gravity punish them. What the Tea Party did, they came and they moved the tightrope. While we were trying to tug on his sleeve and try to pull him to the left a little bit, they picked up the whole tightrope and moved it. Occupy moved it back. We were headed toward this awful austerity mania. The Tea Party had hijacked Congress in August of 2011, and even the president was talking about a grand bargain that was going to really put a lot of pain onto the American people's shoulders. And Occupy just obliterated that whole discussion. The super committee basically disappeared suddenly and couldn't even function because Occupy brought up the issue of inequality, of the economy working for only the 1%, not the 100%, the 99% being left out. And that, I think, was a telling moment. One of the reasons why we created Rebuild the Dream the summer before Occupy was a recognition that the economic issues in America were not being effectively addressed by the progressives. The two big barriers right now are these. It used to be the case that the pathway from poverty into the middle class was go to college and buy a house. Today, those are the trap doors from the middle class into poverty, because student debt is crushing a whole generation of young people who are trying to make a better life for themselves, and underwater mortgages. 1/4 of every mortgage in America underwater is dragging people from the middle class into poverty. So the American dream, so-called, has been turned upside down, inside out. Rebuild the Dream has two campaigns up to get Fannie and Freddie, on the one hand, to cut the principal on these underwater mortgages so that people can actually get back to their lives and quit being trapped by the false evaluation of the banks earlier. But number two, the student loan debt is now $1 trillion. There's more student debt in our economy than all the credit card debt combined. Every credit card in every pocket of America, you stack that up, the pile of debt is smaller than the student debt in America. That's never happened.